Hello, beautiful people out there in the YouTube universe. It's a beautiful Saturday. I hope everything is going well. Let's get right into it. But after the sit ins and marches in the South, things were beginning to change. President Lyndon B. Johnson signed the Civil Rights Act on July 2nd, 1964, 101 years after Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation, granting rights that would have to be spelled out again long after Lincoln was gone. Now, blacks were entitled to the same privileges as any other citizens. They were not to be segregated in any sphere in life. But it would take time, up to a decade or more, for the message to sink in to those who chose not to recognize the new law. In addition, it was not as if a copy of the Civil Rights Act went out to every black household. Some didn't know what their new rights were exactly and had lived under the old order for so long that they were tentative about testing out the new one. In public conveyances, it fell to workers like George Sterling, if they were so inclined, which it so happened he was, to alert their fellow migrants to rights they weren't certain they could assert. On the train, it meant negotiating the tricky business of reorienting the black passengers when the train passed into or out of what had been Jim Crow territory. For as long as most anyone alive could remember, this was the way things had worked on the railroad. A black passenger boarding a southbound train at, say, Pennsylvania Station in New York would be assigned a seat anywhere on the train and could sit there without a second thought until the train reached the border city of Washington, D.C. From the time of Reconstruction in the 1870s, Washington had been the dividing line between the free North and the segregated South. Black passengers getting off in Washington had nothing to worry about. But for those continuing south, the crews who ran the train, the porters who helped passengers on and off, and the black passengers themselves knew to gather their things and move to the Jim Crow car up front to make sure the races were separated when the train crossed into the state of Virginia. Okay. Going to stop there for today. And I want to focus on something that's very impressive and very enlightening. This one right here, it says, President Lyndon B. Johnson signed the Civil Rights Act on July 2nd, 1964. Why is this so important? Well, if you do your math and you're aware of the year that we're approaching, the next year, 2024, marks 60 years since the Civil Rights Act was signed. Now, that is mind-boggling. 60 years? That's it? I mean, my father, he was born in 1937. And he died, I believe, at 77 years old. So that is pretty remarkable that black folks in the North, in the South, in the West, East, wherever, we have only been granted access to basic civil rights for just 60 years. Like, that is astonishingly, like, it's amazing. And it brought to my attention for the first time that I realized I'm actually a first generation born West Coast um, black individual because my father, he came here to the South and like I believe he came. I'm sorry to the West Coast. He came in like I believe in the '60s. So he didn't come on that first train earlier during the 1910s or 1920s, or his father and his mother didn't. They stayed in the South. So that makes me and my siblings first generation born black folks in the West. You know, and it's pretty crazy to think about. I always tease my wife because my wife she's Mexican, but I always tease her that she's a first generation. I call her first gen because her parents, you know, they immigrated from Mexico, and I would always tease her about being a first gen, you know, but now I'm realizing my ass a first gen too, you know. It's pretty amazing, but yeah, my father he wasn't born here. He was born and raised in the South, and he came here to start his family, and that makes me and my siblings first gens. Man, that's pretty amazing stuff. But yeah, I just wanted to focus on that. Next year marks 60 years since the Civil Rights Act, and wow, not much has changed. That's pretty amazing. And I wanted this the last point I want to focus on. This is a great idea. It was not as if a copy of the Civil Rights Act went out to every black household. Some didn't know what their new rights were exactly and had lived under the old order for so long that they were tentative about testing out the new one. This is a great idea. It would have been nice if the government or Congress, whatever, would have made it a priority to make copies and send them out to black folks and to make them aware of their rights. That would have been a great idea, but unfortunately, they didn't prioritize us that much to think that far ahead. But that's really a great idea to make people aware of their rights. So yeah, I just wanted to share that with you today, and I'm gonna keep sharing. I'm close to being finished. It's almost done, so stay tuned for that. And I'm gonna share now what I am watching. The film for today is a film on Hulu. It's called Bad Hair. Now, you all may not believe me when I say this. This movie, this director, I believe he stole my idea. now, of course, I'm joking, but yes, a while back, I was trying to write a story about a sister who was trying on a wig or whatever, and the hair took over and possessed her. I'm not lying. I had this idea years ago. It wasn't called Bad Hair, but it definitely had to do with a sister and her hair. But this guy, this director, I think his name is Justin, he beat me to it, and it's okay. But yeah, this movie Bad Hair, it's about a sister and her hair. She's trying to get into the corporate world, the white world, and you guys already know in the corporate white world, our natural hair is not tolerated, is not accepted. So you have to, to make it in there, to get into the upper echelon, you gotta change your natural look up and be more European pleasing, I guess you can say. But yeah, this movie, it has its moments. It's pretty funny, especially towards the end. You guys should check it out. It's called Bad Hair. But this sister here, she's a really good actress. I love her facial expressions in this scene. She's getting her hair done. It looks so painful. And with me, I'm tender-headed, so I'm just cringing the whole time watching this because it brings back terrible memories of my sister doing my hair. I had braids growing up, and boy, I was in pain and agony, just like the sister here, the same face, crying and everything, getting my hair braided by my sister. But yeah, but this actress, she's really good. But yeah, this film, it's a fun film. It's on Hulu. Check it out. It's called Bad Hair, and it's about this sister who's trying to make it in the corporate world, and unfortunately, you gotta change up your do to be more acceptable and to be more, be more part of the crowd. But yeah, check it out. It's called Bad Hair. It's pretty interesting. You guys take care, and I will check in again mañana. Take care.